internet, the world is connected and the world is a smaller place to live in now because of the internet. So I feel like the community of makers, it's ever evolving and growing, especially with help from the internet. And if you look at Bhutan, of course, due to the circumstances we had to face through COVID-19, we started innovating and building the makerspace.
Hi, Chirag. Could you please tell us more about yourself? What's your name, where you are from, and what do you make?
So, hi, I'm Chirag and I come from Bhutan. Bhutan is a country located in South Asia and we're between India and China. So if you look at China, it has a population of 1.4 billion and India has a population of 1.2 billion. But we're in between India and China in a small country called Bhutan, which has around 46,500 square kilometers of land. And then we just have a population of 700,000, which could be like a village in China. And where I come from, I work with a company called Druk Holding and Investments, which is the commercial arm of the royal government of Bhutan, where we manage the wealth of the country. And thereby, we have a maker space called the Superfab Lab. And at the Superfab Lab, I mostly manage and operate the lab. And I've also been in a strategic position to manage the lab. And then with the lab, what we're trying to do is we are trying to build an innovative ecosystem in the country, whereby we're trying to build a culture of makers in the country, because Bhutan really requires makers now. If you look at the scale of the economy, if you look at the next generation of technology, it does not need to be a very big country or a very big community building technology. But in Bhutan, we feel like such a maker space could provide that platform for some of our young innovators, entrepreneurs to actually build technology that can scale globally as well. But of course, if you look at Bhutan, we're trying to solve problems for Bhutan, and eventually, once we are happy that we've solved the problem, and once we know that we can scale it, so we want to build technology-based products that can go outside Bhutan. So I work with a lot of university, industries, the government, and private stakeholders. So yes, over to you.
Right. So, in your opinion, what is and what has been changing in the maker community?
So maybe I'll contextualize this locally and then go globally. So if you look at Bhutan before COVID, uh, COVID-19 happened in 2020, there was not much of a maker movement in the country. Why? Because the whole of the country was dependent on foreign technology, foreign resources. For example, if you if Apple launches its latest iPhone, then all the Bhutanese would go to the Apple store and then buy the iPhone. So we were, what I'd like to term it is first consumers in terms of buying everything that's been produced from outside. But once COVID-19 happened, we realized that we can't be dependent on each and everything on foreign countries. That's where the concept idea of makers movement came about in Bhutan. So that's, I'd say COVID was of course a curse, but if you look at it in a positive way, it brought about a big maker movement in the country in making Bhutan self-sufficient and self-reliant. But if you look globally, of course, it's always been evolving. My favorite example is when you go back to MIT when Professor Neil Gershenfeld inaugurated the Fab Lab in 2002. And those were some of the first steps that helped build a maker community. And if you look at the Fab Lab network globally, it's more than 100,000 people. So globally, of course, it's been increasing exponentially. And because of the internet, the world is connected and the world is a smaller place to live in now because of the internet. So I feel like the community of makers, it's ever evolving and growing, especially with help from the internet. And if you look at Bhutan, of course, due to the circumstances we had to face through COVID-19, we started innovating and building the makerspace. Yeah.
Thank you so much. The last question, what you are aiming and where you are heading next?
For us, if you look at Bhutan, where we are heading to is quite obvious. It directly comes from His Majesty the King, and we want to be self-reliant, self-sustainable. And technology is the only way that can do that for Bhutan. Why? Because Bhutan, as I mentioned, does not have a seaport. Bhutan does not have great internet, but we have very cheap electricity. And if you have cheap electricity, what that means is you can actually build something, manufacture something at cheap for a very reasonable cost. And with that value, what Bhutan is looking to is building solutions that can be built not just for Bhutan, but if you look at Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Pakistan, India, and the whole Himalayan belt, we have the similar issues. Even though we have abundance of water in the Himalayan region, but there are still houses that don't have water, 24/7 drinking water supply. And we're trying to solve that using some of the technology that we're building. So for Bhutan, I think we'll be the leaders in terms of building the next generation of technology, especially in South Asia. Why? Because we have a very small population and we can teach everyone very quickly. The government is very stable, so we have favorable policies, regulations, so that makers can innovate and bring about a change. Number three is cheap electricity. So with all these factors intact, I feel like Bhutan can be the next startup region for Asia, at least. Yep.
That's the end of the interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.